All right. Hi, guys. Welcome back to Job and the Librarians. This is season 2, episode 8, where we'll be talking about the romance reader's guide to life. My name is Erica, and I am a young adult librarian.
Hi, and I'm Lauren. I'm a reference librarian.
Okay, so this is a long synopsis about this book. I'm going to try to read it really fast so you can get a gist of what the book is about. So this book is about a young girl, Neve, I believe that's pronounced. Neve was often stuck in a world that didn't know what to do with her, as her mother not unkindly told her she was never going to grow up to be a great beauty. Her glamorous sister Lily moved easily through the world, a parade of handsome men in pursuit. Her brother didn't want a girl joining his group of friends, and their small town of Lynn, Massachusetts didn't have a place for a girl whose feelings often put her at war with the world. Often this meant her mother, her brother, and the town librarian who wanted to keep her away from the dangerous books she really wanted to read. But through an unexpected friendship, Neve finds herself with a forbidden copy of The Pirate Lover, a steamy romance, and Neve discovers a world of passion, love, and betrayal. And it is to this world that as a grown up, she retreats to again and again when real life becomes too much. Nate finds herself rereading The Pirate Lover more than she ever would have expected because as she gets older, life does not follow the romances she gobbled up as a child. When Neve and Lily are about to realize their professional dream, Lily suddenly disappears. Neve must put her beloved books down and take center stage, something she has been running from her entire life, and she must figure out what happened to Lily and if she's next, who Neve turns to help her makes Sharon Pyle's The Romance Reader Guide to Life one of the most original, entertaining, exciting, and chilling novels you'll read this year. That is a very long synopsis.
Yeah, you got a much longer synopsis on your book than I got on mine because I have an arc that I got from work, and which is how I heard of the book. But what mine says is it is post World War II, and two sisters are trying to make their way in the world. Lily is a beauty who juggles men. Neve is a bookworm who would rather read about love than experience it. When Lily disappears, Miss Neve must figure out not only what happened to her, but also if she's next, and how she does this with the help of her favorite pirate romance novel, The Ghost of Her Childhood Dog, who is now a talking crossdresser. An unlikely love interest makes for a novel that is equally a page turner and a thoughtful examination of how the guiltiest pleasures might contain the most essential truths.
That is like two different synopses. Okay.
Like, in part by length, but essentially they get at the same thing of they're trying to like survive in post World War II, being non-traditional women, but very different sisters. And Lily disappears, and Neve's got to figure it out. Like at the heart of each synopsis, that's what it gets to, but it gives you very different information about the book.
Right, because I had super high hopes for this book. When we announced it, I started on it early, which says a lot because I always procrastinate and read this book mostly the day of
And that's
the
even with the books
show.
that she's excited about and she's picked.
And like I finished it like right on time. And this one, I was really excited. I love contemporary, especially new adult. I love new adult contemporary, but I'm just getting off a contemporary at Sun High, and I was thinking this is going to be a nice coffee read, nice little, but no, it was not that for me. I absolutely did not like this book whatsoever, and I DNF'd it at the 50% mark, and I really feel like first of all, it has a story within a story that I don't really care for, with the exception of if it's written right, because I have read other books with a story within a story and it was written good and I liked it because the previous book that we read had a story within the story and it was okay. Um, I just feel like if the writing was really good, then I would have probably finished the book all the way throughout, but I didn't really like the characters and I didn't really like the plot as much. And I didn't like it. And I was disappointed because I really wanted to love this book a lot. And I set myself up too high because I had really, really high hopes for this book.
See, for me, I started it like you think, it was going to be a light coffee read because neither of our synopses tell us about the spousal abuse in this book. Like, we're not set up to expect that at all. And um so I mean that kind of made it rough for me, but at the same time, and I think you're right, the writing on the book was not great, but I really enjoyed the story. Like, really enjoyed it. I even liked kind of sort of the story in the story. Which to me wasn't a big part of it, but considering everything else that was going on and how it gets weaved into the book, kind of worked.
Yeah, and I saw that when I was looking at other reviews. I think this is just a book you either hate it or you like it, and I just fell into the latter. Like,
Yeah, it's definitely that book.
and like I said with just the writing, I mean, you can have a book that doesn't really have likable characters, likable plot, but I really feel like if the writing is really good, you will like the book. It kind of reminded me of the Selection series. I do not like this series at all. I don't even understand why I finished reading them, but it was the writing. I didn't like the characters and I didn't like the plot, but the writing was really good, and that's how I somehow was able to finish that series out.
See, and for me, this book, the cool thing to me about this book was just how it's mixing different things. So it's got the spousal abuse, and the husband is just a despicable character, like an awful, awful, awful character. And the one that gets married, Lily, kind of made me think of my great grandmother a little bit. The way she always got described in the family, because I never met her, but my dad's grandmother always was described in the family as being wild. She was somebody that had my grandfather at the age of 19 in the unwed mother's home. And, you're reading about Lily and she just jumps into marriage number one because, oh, he's cute. I'm going to do this. Gets married, stays married a few years, has a kid, gets out of that marriage because of a couple different reasons. A few years later meets another guy that's again kind of cute, but she goes, "Oh, he's so different than husband number one, so I'm gonna do this." Gets married again, and I mean, to me, she wasn't necessarily a great character, but she was just real interesting and kind of fun to read. Her sister Neve, to me, it was probably the best character because she's the one that's sitting there reading, and she's not the character you would have imagined to have been in love with the romance novels. You probably would have expected more of that from Lily. But Neve's kind of an addict and a bookworm. It is just kind of great to watch that. Plus, she's after Lily uh disappears, she's trying to solve the mystery of what happened and why and who, as she's taking care of her niece and kind of like pulling together and being a family because she was never somebody that got married or thought she would be somebody to get married. And so now she's a family unit. And she's trying to take care of the business because she and her sister run a business. As she's solving a mystery and talking to her humanoid, cross-dressing, talking dead dog.
Yeah, I saw, like, you talked about it. You mentioned a little bit earlier about you said like I had abuse and whatnot in it. It's kind of like almost all of us we've been picking lately been having a little bit of all of that in it, and we didn't even know about it because it's not even mentioned in the synopsis of it.
Yeah, and when you look online, like we get like the basic synopses. I think we kind of expected it more out of the last book because it at least mentioned in the synopsis an emotionally unavailable dad. And so we're like, okay, guys, this may or may not have some triggers in it. FYI. This one, we're like, oh, look, cross-dressing dog, romance books, World War II. This will be fine.
Yeah, it doesn't even like give you an inkling of that in there. So apologize if you read it and it does the trigger warnings or whatnot because we didn't know about it. Like I said, the synopsis is a lot, but it was also pretty vague at the same time. So I apologize about that too.
I mean, what I keep going back to with our books, though, is we try to do trigger warnings for the books when we know they're coming. Just just so that way you guys are aware of what's coming when you read, when we toss out a book. If it's going to be something that's too dark for you or whatever, I want you guys to be aware. On the flip side of that, I always go back to what friends and coworkers like to remind me are one of the commandments of book clubs, which is a book club is supposed to make you read what you don't normally read, and it's supposed to make you a little bit uncomfortable, so that way you're arguing your point and thinking your way through it.
Yeah, I can understand that. And this is probably one of the ones that I would mostly be talking about is the writing, because the writing sucked like a sack of bricks. I just didn't like it at all. And like I said, I really hate that because I really feel like this was, a really good read and a good conversation starter with the book. And it had good cover. It just had everything that I would want in the book. But
yeah, if you guys can see this, like our viewers, I'm like, it's amazing. Like, I think the books have different covers, but the one I have is the one of her in like the yellow dress with the orange book, and it's got like a little pirate ship up here coming out of the book. Oh, just great.
My cover's different. I have it on my phone, but it's different, and it's just got like the sea and the ship, and it looks
is it the one with the blue dress is it the one
Yeah.
with like the bluish dress where like her dress turns into the sea, and the ship is on like her dress / the sea, and she's over kind of to the side with the book?
No, this one is. I don't know if you guys can see that. I probably can't. Well, no, you can't see that. Sorry, but it's just got the sea, and then it's got like the red dress, and then the ship and the moon in the background. But I'll put a link to my copy where the Kindle copy, so you can see it. But it looked good. The cover.
Oh, the covers on this, like I kept looking them up. The cover, there were like 3 different covers, and I posted each of them during the course of the month. When I do our posts for the books, I try to find as many covers of the book as I can find, so I can keep tying it back to the book. And if I can't find covers, I get the one I can, and then do stuff that ties back. All the covers I found for this book were just gorgeous, like awesome looking book.
Yeah, and even though the book had like, I think it was 3.5 stars, like I said, you either hate it or you love it, and there were some really good reviews on there, and it's just like a few not so good ones, and I was trying to figure out what did I read, because I saw a lot of 4 and 5 star, but I really feel like it's your preference on what you're used to, and
just between you and me, we were so far apart. Like I was one of the 4-star reviews, and you were one of the 1-star reviews.
Yeah, and you can tell how reading tastes are different, but that's kind of, a good thing to be introduced to different types of reading styles, because that's the purpose of this, what we're doing now. And I just, I don't know. And I feel like, contemporary is something that I do like to read, but I don't know. This one wasn't my type of contemporary. I'll just put it like that then.
I started looking up reviews because like we've said on here before, we normally don't look up the reviews before we read the books either, because we want to give kind of a fresh take on this. And one of the 4-star reviews of this, and the mention of some of this stuff goes down a little further in the thing, so if you're reading on Goodreads, what you end up seeing is like the first couple lines, not where they give you any of the meat and bones. But there's this one person who writes, "This book turned out to be very different from my expectations." Accurate statement. Yes, it is certainly a romance and it is historical fiction, but it's also a lot more than that. There is a book within a book, an interesting but dysfunctional family, yes, on so many fronts. Some astonishingly poor marriage choices, violence and murder, and a certain amount of interference from the other side, quote unquote. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The author writes well. I think Erica and I both disagree with that line. I would say at best she's a mediocre author, but I got sucked into the story, which is why I gave it 4 stars. The most prominent, the author writes well, and her characterization is good. That last bit I'll agree with. The most prominent character is Neve, who, along with her sister Lily, manages in the aftermath of World War II to start up a successful business along the lines of Nutrimetics or Avon. Lily is the one who chooses the wrong men and eventually sets the main plot in action. I guess the book is a contemporary on romance, the people who read it and how it compares to real life. It is also great fun, very engaging, and a very good read. See, and that's kind of where I felt with it, where it wasn't my expectations, but it was I enjoyed it. Then you get a 1-star review who there is an inherent distrust between the writers and readers of romance fiction and the devotees of literary fiction. Sharon Pywell, in the closing statement to this book, states that she never read a romance until after reaching adulthood, when she picked up one off a lending library shelf out of sheer boredom and a lack of something else to read. Um, Full disclosure, that's how I've come across a couple romances, but those end up being real thin ones and end up being a palate cleanser for me. The problem with coming to a romantic fiction as an adult, as an author who already writes literary fiction, is the instinct to overanalyze things. Romances are about escapism, and here's where I think this author has fundamentally missed the point. In writing a literary fiction novel about a fan of romance novels, including snippets of a supposed real romance novel, the author has managed to create a book that is the absolute opposite of escapist, full of drudgery, cruelty, sadism, and murder. Reading it felt like trudging through quicksand. Literary fiction fans are snobs. They wouldn't begin to comprehend why a supposedly intelligent woman would read or write romance. Believe me, as a romance author, I've encountered more than my.
Okay, so I don't know what happened. I have a little bit of technical difficulties, but basically, we were just talking about the different reviews of the positive and the negative ones that we've seen, and I had said that there were mostly a lot of good reviews on there, and probably just a little bit of some negative ones, and I was part of that. But basically, she was saying, reading one review that I read, that basically the author didn't really understand the concept of writing the romance part of the story, and another author was kind of, I won't say criticizing it, but kind of trying to figure out exactly where she was coming from with it, and she kind of missed the point, because I really feel like with contemporaries, if you just have to have a really good foundation with it. You have to have good writing, especially because it's not as epic as, like, a fantasy or paranormal or anything along those genres. And you need to have, if you don't have a good of a plot or characters, you just need to have a really good writing. And I really feel like that's very fundamental. And like I said, I just came off contemporary thon, and I read a ton of contemporaries, and some of them I did not, I liked them. Some of them I did love, some I didn't like. But at the same time, the writing is what saved the story, and that's like the number one thing for me. I DNF'd it, but and I don't really plan on going back and rereading it. I really don't plan on reading anything else by her. It just has to be something that's really sparking my interest, but at the same time, this one kind of stuck out to me, and I had high hopes for it. But it's kind of, you know,
I am so sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened. My everything just decided to shut down on me for a second there.
you're good. Got it. But you was
But
talking about
yeah,
it.
I had high hopes for it too. And the funny thing is, I think those two reviews that I found kind of encapsulated like our very different opinions on it.
Yeah, I just I wanted you to kind of, what part of, like, what happened in the story where it came in about the mental abuse, or you was talking about that earlier. Like, what was?
Oh, it was pretty much physical abuse. There were moments where
Oh,
um the sister Lily would show up at the house after marrying husband number two and would just stay there for a couple of nights. And sometimes they would see abuses and stuff. The husband threatened, after Lily disappeared, the husband actually threatened Neve several times as well.
See, I would have never expected that from reading the very beginning. Like, I would have never expected any of that to kind of go on or come up within
Well,
the
you
story.
don't. It wasn't something that felt super expected to me. On some level, it made sense in the story because I don't think you ever go into a relationship or you don't ever see anything until you're either in the relationship or a friend or family members in that kind of relationship. To be like, oh, yep, Ted's an abuser. But like you go in, they've grow up, you see World War II for like 30 seconds. They start their business. She marries husband number one. And they keep growing the business and they actually meet a female chemist who fixes their lipsticks and makes it better. And was able to create all the colors and make it a better functioning lipstick, something that doesn't smear or stick, or which I thought was cool too. And so, in the midst of all of that, Lily divorces husband number one, meets husband number two, and he seems like a great guy, but Neve feels a little off, but doesn't. But that's like it. She just kind of feels off about it. And then a few months in, a year into the marriage, he starts hitting her.
Oh my goodness. See, I'm kind of glad I didn't read all of that because
Yeah, I mean, they never actually show it, which is nice. So you don't actually have to like be there, but you see her, like I said, show up at Neve's house, going, "Hey, can I stay for a couple of days?" type of stuff.
yeah.
And I mean, it worked they made it work within a story, and it made sense. Like I said, they worked it in, and they made it seem realistic, like you're going into the marriage not realizing he's that kind of person.
Okay.
And uh basically you see it kind of crumble, and then you go into her missing, and Neve sitting there going, I'm positive it's her husband, and you can kind of understand why it is. And like I said, they end up working through it.
Okay. So she disappeared. Like, what happened? Like,
she
what happened with her?
she dropped off her daughter at Neve's house. Lily does. And she goes to get stuff from her own house, or no, the abusive husband stops by to pick her up for something, and they go out for a few minutes, and she never comes back, like ever. And the little girl kept going, every so often be like, "When's mom gonna come home?" And at first they're like, "Oh, mom and Ted are working it out. Mom and Ted went on a weekend trip to try to make things work." Trying to like play it. And after like the weekend, or after like a week and a half, however long it was, they finally had to tell Lily's daughter that they had no idea where her mom was.
So it was the husband. Like,
I mean,
what?
it did end up being the husband. Like, she was completely right. But she's got the police going in, and he's playing the police at one point where the police are going, "We're not sure it's the husband. We're going to check all of our options," which on some level, you have to give the police credit for looking into everything and making sure. But yeah, you got Neve there investigating the whole thing and trying to keep her life and her niece's life together. So,
Okay. So when she disappeared, it was the husband. The husband came back. He didn't even try
yes,
to, and
he came back to town.
he didn't even try to get the daughter.
It wasn't his daughter; it's his stepkid.
Oh,
The little girl was actually from marriage number one.
and he just basically act like she didn't exist.
I mean, when he would stop by to see Lily, he would say hi to the kid and like talk to her and stuff, like interact. But I mean, once Lily disappeared, um, yeah, he would like, yeah. just didn't try to take the kid home. Nothing.
That would have been odd. Like very odd. That would have raised okay, so I mean, she was living with you all. You don't show any kind of concern
Oh,
or
Erica, I can't hear you right now. Your sound's gone.
okay, can you hear me now?
I mean, while I'm waiting on Erica, the whole thing was just super, super bizarre. Like, he, is doing this, and the person that ends up helping Neve figure everything out is one of the local fishermen.
Yeah, can is it good now?
Sorry, I still can't hear you. Let me try to exit and come back out and back in and see if I can figure this out. If that's what the problem is, I will be right back, everybody. Sorry about this.
Okay. We're just having like a lot of technical difficulties today. I don't know if it's because of the rain or what, because it's raining here in Louisiana, Monroe. And normally, like when it rains like this, it gets kind of crazy and whatnot. But I don't know what's wrong. We had echo problems. Lauren got kicked out, and I don't know I don't know what it is. So bear with us. Bear with us. Hopefully this will get better. And yeah, if I don't know what's going on. Hopefully this is like the last of it though, because we have been having rain for the past few days now. And when it storms like this, it's just not as good, especially when you're living in the south. We live in this area and it's just not good on the internet. So yeah, this is just not our day. Period. Both of us just got in from work and it's not our day right now. So I don't know. But basically she was just talking about Lily disappearing and the husband not really showing any type of concern about the little girl from the previous relationship. I didn't read any of that because I DNF'd it, but Lauren would talk more about that part. But that's kind of weird. I mean, what? Obviously, there was no love there because if he's left and then come back with a little girl, that must just first of all, there's red flags anyway. Because the first thoughts that come to my mind is you did something like to the wife. You had to. You had to have done something.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. And I was just saying, like, that would have been red flags. Like, I would have automatically thought that you had something to do with it because of your nonchalant. Like, you don't care, or what is it?
Oh, and he was actively for most of the book. I mean, after the disappearance, up until the police agreed that it was him, he actively fought this idea that it was him. He's like, I didn't do it. They cleared me. I was nowhere near her.
So did it say how she died or what do you do?
I read this in like 3 days at the beginning of the month. They might have figured it out because I think they found her body or like her remains, whatever that entails. But I don't fully remember what exactly it was. I want to say that what they found was her in the water, like weeks later.
Oh my god, this is not what I thought it was going to be at all. This is dark.
Yeah, it's totally darker than expected, but at the same time, like last year, we read The Girl in 6E and we read The Final Girls. So we've read dark stuff before. It's just this one. I think that might be one of many reasons I ended up liking this book. Is you pick it up going, oh, this is gonna be a light, fun read, and you're like, oh, death, investigations, cross-dressing humanoid ghost dog. Like they're just throwing some random stuff at you, and I'm like, okay, I can go with this.
Yeah, because it just wasn't what's expected. I didn't think that that would be in a story. And oh my goodness, they found her body in the water. Uh,
Well, they're
I,
also part of a fishing community. I probably should make that very clear at the beginning. They're part of a fishing community, and I think the husband, the second husband, ends up being like a fisherman or friends with fishermen, so he had like access.
mhm.
So I mean, like looking back, like the pieces were there to be put together, but at the same time, you're just like, holy shit, really, really, he's an abuser. Okay, okay, now she's gone. She's probably and like when they go, she's disappeared. I'm like, she's probably dead. Like that bit didn't surprise me, but it's like now the ghost dog is helping her solve this mystery, and she's trying to keep it from her niece, which is totally the correct response, I think, to not like freak out your 9-year-old niece with mom might be dead. That's why she's not home.
Wow. I don't know. I felt like the author had so many ideas and didn't really know. And she kind of wanted to put them all together. That's what I'm getting from this. It's like she had a lot going on in her mind.
There might have been. I mean, to me, it was kind of like a. It wasn't the light, fun read that I was expecting, but I had fun with it. I mean, despite the fact that we're dealing with a book that's got murder and spousal abuse in it, which are awful, awful things. I do not recommend either. And again, if you guys are going through any of this, find yourself a good lawyer, find yourself a good therapist. Like I'm a big proponent of all of that. Talk to somebody. But and actually that's what Lily was in the process of doing when she was disappearing and dying on us. But it's just like good gravy. This is kind of in a weird way, like it was kind of great for me because it just took like this hard right turn. And if you were and I that might be also why I like the story within a story because we're going with this, deep, deep stuff, and you're just reading this random story, going like we're in the midst of everything. Let's see here. You can't do everything, Lily, and you were doing a lot more than most women ever dream about doing. You created and ran a successful business that everybody's born with this maternal engine driving them around all day, shoving them off the PTA meetings and coffee clutches and sledding hills. You loved Annie. You did your best. And so you're going from like deep lines to that to a barge from the black ship bearing Judge Henri Churche splashed down, rowed over, and carried two captives to their fates. And so Electric Gates found herself once again facing Judge Henri, at this time on the deck of his flagship with his brother at her side. And you just go on like this weird investigation. And you get into that, and all of a sudden you're in like this romance novel, which, maybe on some level the romance novel was stupid, and maybe the author's way of making fun of romance novels, but I also feel like the romance novel kind of needed to be there a little bit. Otherwise, it gets real dark real easily, and it's going to be sustained darkness for a while.
Yeah, I could see that. I saw that in some reviews where it said that she was kind of making fun of the romance aspect of it. But yeah, this was, like you said, a really hard right turn because I wasn't expecting any of that at all.
Yeah, I totally was reading in my head the romance like that. I mean, I kind of feel like you can't not read the romance. Oh, and it changes perspective sometimes. Like you get Neve's perspective, and then you get
Mm-hmm.
Boppet, who's the dog. I discovered in my time as a dog that people don't take you seriously if you're a dog. They hit you with things and abandon you and take away your favorite stuff. And they do that to each other too. I was comfortable as a dog because my nature is loyal and steady and basically affectionate. It's like Neve's nature. I'm Neve's protector. As far as I know, I'll always be her protector. Sometimes I feel like I know I'm not confident that I can protect her now, but it's my job and I'm going to do it as well as I can. Like, what's bad is I'm sitting there, like, in my head as I'm reading it, like, it gets to bop it, and that's literally how I read it. And when you're in Lily's perspectives, you have to realize the book's mostly from Neve's perspective. You get a little bit of bop it, which, like I said, I read like that. You get a little bit of the pirate lover romance book, which she's like basically when that you pick it up like when she picks it up, essentially. And it goes from this different stuff to sometimes you get Lily's perspective. And Lily's dead. Like, Lily's dead for the entire book. You start the book knowing Lily's dead, essentially. You don't know how or why, so I guess it's not super, super surprising. But, I mean, for all we know at the beginning when we find out Lily's dead, she could have been 95. But it says, if you're reading this, then you aren't where I am, which is dead. Like, line number 1 of the book.
Yeah. Not really a surprise.
Line 1. Like, we're not spoiling anything by telling you that Lily dies in the book. Because she tells you in line 1. That's literally right here at the top. A few words from Lily. If you're reading this, then you aren't where I am, which is dead. I was delivered here a little prematurely, courtesy of some mistakes that might, if I'm going to be totally honest here, have something to do with Vixen Red Lipstick and the feelings that would cluster around it. And I love the names of their lipsticks too.
What are they?
Oh, let me find some. Like Vixen Red's one of them. I gotta find these lipsticks. Their brother Snyder is a dipshit. He's just a complete and utter. Sorry, I passed by his name. He's just a complete and utter dipshit. They
Kind of
keep
got
like they try to help him out. Like they let him live with them, but he doesn't do anything, so they kick him out. They try to set him up with one job, but all he wants to do is the comic stuff, so he gets fired from his job, and it's just like, dude. Oh, come on, I gotta find these lipstick names. We sold Runway and Catch Me If You Can so fast it was hard to keep it in stock. Now Be Your Best was another one, Pink Dawn. And those were like early lipstick names before they, and like right after they got everything fixed up. Rugga Potts is the name of the female chemist. She's German or Hungarian or something like that, and is just fantastic. I love her. Be Your Best is, like I said, is the name of one of them. Blah, blah, blah. And as they get new ones, they get better. You're a Sweet Little Headache.
I like that one.
Warm Kitty, which made me think of Big Bang Theory. Soft kitty, warm kitty, little bumper.
Big Bang Theory.
Sorry, I couldn't not do that. Like in my head, like whenever I read, the one time I read Warm Kitty, I instantly just start going into that song in my head. And I'm like, oh, God. I mean, oh yeah, and the daughter's name is Annie, which I think's cute.
The stepdaughter?
No, that's what's her name? That's Lily's daughter's name is Annie.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can find any more of these names but yeah, I mean, they all kind of go from there. Like they start kind of sedate, and then you're like, and then they become like Evening Vixen, Midnight in Manhattan. But yeah, They all just kind of grow, and they're great. And I mean, I started looking forward to what the names of the different makeups were, just to kind of see what they were and to see where their heads were at as they made them.
Yeah, they all sound interesting and whatnot. So, how did it all come together at the end? Did it have sort of a semi happy ending with her,
It
finding out
did.
that
It did. So Boppet, the ghost of Boppet, and the ghost of Lily end up helping to solve the everything. The guy that Neve meets, the local fisherman who ends up helping, was good gravy. There was a guy named Ricky Lerman that was helping. No, that was not Ricky Lerman. Ricky Lerman was the husband that was abusive. But so there's uh, Max, who is the guy that she meets and ends up kind of falling for as they're investigating. And literally the last chapter is told in is a grand total of 3 pages. Big chapter, let me tell you. And it's literally called, it's from Neve's perspective. Every chapter started with whose perspective it's from. And it's called Reader, I Married Him. And it's her marrying Max. And if you anybody who's familiar with literature would know Reader, I Married Him is from Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Which I won't get into. The wedding mythic ritual made of white lace, pink frosting, and tossed bouquets. I know the cliches, but I never bought into the particulars. That's a little girl's dream, and I am a grown woman. I was married aboard the Boogie Woogie in a bathing suit. Yeah. I mean, this is not at all how I thought it was going to end. I mean, I'm not surprised it ended with a wedding, but as a accent in a bathing suit, accented with a white towel wrapped loosely and knotted at my waist. Max wore a bathing suit too, a towel draped across his shoulders like a cape. We swore to be each other's until death separated us, pulled off our towels, and jumped over the side for a swim. Most of the guests joined us. Oh yeah, and the guy that she marries is on some levels a local fisherman, but he's also an oceanographer, and he's the brother of husband number two.
oh wow. Nah, I don't think so.
No, it gets better. So not only is he the brother, but he's like the smarter brother and the nice brother. He's actually a good guy. And like they start off like when Neve meets her brother-in-law, Lily's second husband, it's at the wedding, and they're like, his brother may or may not be there. Well, why wouldn't he be there? And they don't get along, so I had to convince him to invite his brother. Okay, whatever. And then, which should have been a red flag within itself. But I mean, there are normal families where the siblings don't get along, so whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's this whole thing, and yeah, I mean, it's just so many like moving parts to this book. I thought it was great, but that was me.
Yeah. I mm, I don't think I would have. I've been a little bit apprehensive about that.
I will say this though: the Max, the oceanographer, the good brother, actually did take an interest in Annie. Like whenever Neve would come around, he'd ask how Annie was, whether she was there or not. Good
Okay,
signs.
well,
Good signs. And degree oceanographer. He lived on a boat. Like that's not my dream, but he did. Like it was his thing. He was a whole.
yeah, still. Still, it's it sounded like it was. I mean, further along, it sounded like it was pretty cool, but I don't know. I don't know. And at first, at the very beginning, I thought maybe it was my reading slump because I was in one, and then when I was in this readathon, I went back to it, and it wasn't. It wasn't that. It was just.
Yeah, I don't think it was your reading slump, but I don't blame you for not liking it because I mean, it's the beginning of the book and the end of the book are two very different books. And the first third of the book is just kind of built up because it's talking about Neve discovering the romance novels, and you kind of needed to know about Neve discovering the romance novels in order to understand why this book keeps coming back into the book. And it's talking about how their sister is popular with the boys. And so it's talking about that, but it's also showing her bad life choices before getting to husband number two. So that way, yeah, the fact that she's with such a jackass isn't really a surprise. Um, because I mean, she was with this husband that was just essentially deadbeat before him, like really just atrocious choices in men. And then you get this sweet little girl Annie. You get me, and you see them building the business and meeting Rugga, and so you kind of needed all this stuff to know how they ended up right in the spot where Lily owns a house and is reading romance novels, but living in the house by herself. And you've got Snyder popping in and out randomly from time to time. But like I said, he's kind of a dipshit. And because he's such a dipshit, that's why he ends up popping in and out randomly. Like they're trying to help them, but they're like, dude, we can't do all of this for you. We need you to grow up a bit. Like just help us help you, help us help you. Type of stuff.
I don't really have a lot more about the book. Anything? I didn't. The parts that I did read. Let me see. I think I may have highlighted one thing on here, but I didn't read anything that I felt stood out as far as like quotes and whatnot.
Yeah, to me the quotes didn't stand out. Like what stood out is how I ended up reading the different parts. Like I read Neve and Lily like normal things, and then yeah, the pirate lover, which another part. I read very much of how you end up reading some of the romances, or how you see people read romances on comedies, which is Electra had not informed her mother of her changing costume when she appeared at the bottom of the stairs on the evening of the ball in her moire gown. Her reception was icy. She was ordered to change her clothing. She refused coolly. Like that's how you see it in the comedies read, and like and you always get this dramatic narration of them, and that's just how it was in my head. Like that's what stuck out to me. The names of um the names of the I just remember the names of the lipsticks being entertaining on some level. And I liked Max. Like Max is a solid guy where you're like, choose him. Like why couldn't you have married the good one? Or the fact that I keep going back to this, but the fact that Boppet was talking to, clearly there, like he was a functional character within the story as essentially a hominid cross-dressing ghost dog. And she was very well aware that this was her former dog Boppet.
That's crazy. Like I can't grasp across dressing dog. I just I can't.
No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. That's how I end up describing him. But in the story, like the way he presents as a ghost is as a human. So he's essentially just cross-dressing, but she's aware that this human ghost form that she's seeing is her old dog Boppet.
Mm-mm. I don't know. I guess that's a lot of ideas that she had, and she just did not know how to get this. I don't know. There's a lot, but that's kind of all I had for the story.
Yeah, so I think I was more excited about everything than you. I mean, I found it entertaining. I had fun reading it. I mean, I didn't mind the build up. I think that's where your problem ended up being was is one half of the book is just this build up to everything, and I'm just like, okay, let's see where this goes. Like, let's thinking it's this build up, and you're gonna see these successful women, and one of you clearly know one of them's dead from line one, but yeah, let's see what happens. Like, how do we get to this point? Got to get through this build up to see how it happens, and then everything else just kind of like once you hit that point, it's all downhill, and it's like you're on, you're essentially on part of a Splash Mountain. It's all like up and down and all over.
Yeah. And like I said, if it was just written better, then I probably would have gotten that far. I just couldn't hang with the writing. I just couldn't.
That's fair.
Yep.
Well,
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think that's everything we have for the book
Yeah. We haven't picked a book out for next month.
or date.
Yeah. We still on my end, I still have a few things that I'm trying to figure out as far as my job. So, I'm trying to figure out all of that before I can
Yeah,
kind of really
and we're
give it.
also hitting that time of the year where I've got because all my family's out of state. I've got a lot of family stuff coming up over the next couple months that is going to have me kind of all over the place. So we've hit that point of the year where we're we're going to do stuff, but days and times might be
A little different.
a little different. It's going to be based on lot of different things.
Yeah, we don't do one in December, and so we just have October and November. And November, I know would probably be a different date because what
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is like right at the end of the month, and
Yeah,
I know
let
a
me
lot of
see
people
here.
are busy around that time of the
Yeah,
year. So I don't know if
Thanksgiving is the fourth Thursday, which is the 22nd. So we could potentially be doing this on November 27th because, like I said, it's the fourth Thursday, but it's that's really going to be dependent on how much catch up we have to do at work. Because, like I said, with the holidays, I'm going to be with family, so I'm going to be taking some time off, and I know Erica's got family stuff. So if we do it, don't be surprised if we put it before Thanksgiving, just so that way we're able to
Mm.
do family stuff, get work stuff done at the end of the month like we should be doing.
and then more than likely um short or something that won't be too hard or
Yeah,
it's too expensive, even for Halloween, because I love Halloween. Like it's one of my favorite holidays, and I cannot wait till Halloween gets here.
especially with your new niece.
Yes, so I know from Halloween on up, it's gonna get hectic for a lot of people. So
Yeah,
the ones that we pick won't be stringent, or it won't be. It'll be a nice, easy reading. It'll flow.
yeah. But again, as with every month where we come in here where we don't know the day or the book when we or both when we come into this. Once we know, we'll let you guys know. Keep your eye on the buddy read.
Yep, and we will try to figure it out for you all.
Hmm?
That's all that I have. You have anything else?
Nope, I'm pretty good.
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us today.
Mm-hmm.
I hope the weather is nice where you are because it's raining here.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's been raining for a while. And when I say
yeah,
while, I'm not talking about, oh, it's been a couple hours of rain. It's been since Saturday.
yeah, like
On
white
and
sheet
off.
of rain.
Yep.
So yeah, I hope you all are enjoying your weather, and we will see you all next month.
See you next
Bye.
week, guys.